Okay, everybody, this is Henry Vision. We're going to start here. I want to be true to the time. I thank everybody for being on the call right now. I'm sure other people will be jumping in a couple minutes, but I like to always start. Somebody ask me something? No? Okay. I just always want to start and be prompt. This is going to be a sales opportunity webinar for energy efficiency sales. And first of all, I want to give my background, and then afterwards, I'm going to introduce our guest speaker. In the late 80s, I joined the military and was there for almost 6 years. Loved it. Learned a lot from that in an organizational standpoint. You know, we all have different ways in life, and I went into the food industry, actually the warehouse businesses, where I saw a lot of food businesses with HVAC units. And from there, I owned multiple restaurants, and I did carpentry in between. But on the marketing side, I've been successful now, you know, ups and downs for 20 plus years. And when it came to the energy sector, really had a rapid growth in the company. Things happened. I went into the solar industry. I really liked the solar industry because it showed me a different side of business when it came to commercial and residential on the energy efficiency, energy savings programs out there. But I did notice some things. I'll chat with you a little bit later about that. Currently right now, Mr. Geis is on the phone with us, and he has created a great business for the last 9.5 years, and now he is scaling it to go nationwide, and that's where we come into play with Viv. That's going to be our job to get this product out there, and they'll do their job by servicing the customer. So, you know, what we can do is go after numerous types of businesses. That's restaurants, schools, convenience stores, hotels, all kinds of office buildings. It's really sky's the limit out there. Actually, the potential could be millions of businesses that we can service and help. And in the future, maybe on other products that can be, you know, multiple millions of products sold to the end user. Now, we have a special guest. It's the CEO of Mass Energy Group. It's Will Geist. Will, if you, you know, I met you a couple months ago. We've had some conversations back and forth. We're growing not only on a partnership level, but we're starting to learn each other and really get to know each other. And I thank you for taking some time away from your family and everybody else on this call as well to really understand and show everybody what's going on in this company. So can you please give a little bit about your background, Will, and how you developed this company?
Sure. So I grew up in the restaurant industry. I managed my first restaurant at 18 years old and did that all the way through college. After college, I got into the investment world. I was an investment advisor for Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch, worked on Wall Street for a little bit. And then 2008, 2009 happened, right, where the economy kind of crashed. And it put a lot of guys in that business out of work, me included. So, yeah, and it really, I mean, it took everything I had, right? So, you know, in a position where I needed to figure out a plan, I knew that the energy sector was a good place to be because it's a business where we can be in a consultative role. We're helping businesses and other entrepreneurs to be more successful by reducing their expenses. And it's one where, you know, technology is constantly evolving, right? So we're always setting a new standard. And so for my first product, the Energy Squared, and I'd had the idea for a while, and then I hired a product development company to help me put it together. And it took, believe it or not, as simple as the product is, it took 12 months of research and development to get it right, you know, get everything put together the right way. And, you know, we've grown from there, right? So, you know, the Energy Squared, we've got a full portfolio now. There's a lot we can do for refrigeration. We have EC motors and controllers. We have anti-sweat controls. And then we have, obviously, the HVAC, right? The two core technologies are the Energy Squared and the IntelliHVAC. These are the ones that are the best, you know, profit margins, best commissions for you guys. and in my opinion, the easiest to sell, especially when you put them as a package.
Excellent. I was going to ask you a couple questions, Will, but you already started diving into it. Can you explain, it's really simple, because most people on this call may have heard about some of these products, but maybe just not totally acclimated to this. What is an energy square, and how does it help a restaurant or a store that has a walk-in cooler or freezer?
Sure. So the Energy Squared is quite possibly the simplest energy technology on the market. It's designed for walk-in coolers and freezers, and what it does is retrofits over the existing thermostat air probe and provides a more accurate means of temperature measurement to the thermostat by simulating the food product temperature rather than the ambient air temperature. And by virtue of the fact that we're now on a more stable temperature curve, we're able to eliminate unnecessary compressor cycles and the runtime that goes along with them. So we're saving businesses anywhere between 15 and 30% on their energy, and 40 to 60% on the compressor cycles, which relates to maintenance and extending the equipment life, which, if you don't know, one of these compressors for a walk-in cooler costs about $3,000. So if you can extend that equipment life, that's the real value that you're giving to the customer.
Right, exactly. Now, that one device costs the customer $600, and what is the value to that product annually to the customer?
It's about the same, right? It's anywhere, $500, $600, $700, something along those lines. So when I developed the company, one of the things that I wanted to do was to have a certain value proposition, right? I wanted technology that paid itself off in about a year, plus or minus. And so all of our technology, or most of our technologies, are priced to do that, right? To give that 12-month ROI to the client.
Awesome. Going to the next product that you kind of limelighted out there is the Intella HVAC. What does that product do for a customer?
Yeah, so this is a little bit more technical, but I mean, it's a great technology, and it literally applies to everybody right? Everybody has HVAC. So we got a hold of a study that was done by a utility company called PG&E out in California. And that study found that all HVAC units lose about 20 to 30% of the energy that they create. The reason for this is because when the indoor thermostat reaches set point, the outdoor compressor turns off, and then there's something called a post-purge fan, which basically clears the system of the energy that is created. What the study found was, in many cases, that post-purge cycle is not long enough, and there was latent energy left on the coil, and it dissipated outside. So the customer paid for it, but they never received the benefit of it. Right. So now fast forward, we developed the Intella HVAC. So what we do, the Intella HVAC applies what we call an intelligent variable post-purge to the system, which is based on the previous compressor cycles. So in other words, rather than the manufacturer setting where that post-purge cycle runs for 90 seconds every single time, we may run that fan 60 seconds, we may run it 5 minutes. The idea is that they get all the fan they need, but none of what they don't, so that we're optimizing the situation, right? We're capturing all of that energy and not wasting anything. The other side of it is what we call a compressor cycle technology. And very simply, and customers will see this during the summertime, right? So by the way, this is the perfect season to get this out there, because this is when we do our best. Every time an HVAC compressor runs 25 minutes continuously, we turn it off for 5 minutes, and we run the fan at the same time. The reason why we can turn that off is because after 25 minutes, the system is holding all the energy that it can, but the compressor doesn't know that, so it continues to run. So we eliminate that wasteful operation, use the fan instead. After that 5 minutes, if need be, we'll bring the compressor back on. So you're looking at 10 to 30% energy savings all year round, depending on the season. And there's some extension equipment life, right, by cycling those compressors, but we don't really factor that in. Price on that is $9.99. Same thing, about a 12-month ROI.
Wow, that's interesting. I remember the days when I was running a warehouse, we had about 12 HVAC units on the roof, and every morning at 6:30 in the morning, I had to go check them all, make sure all the components were there. So we had those things going, and the cost of the energy was crazy for the business, well over $20,000 a month. Now, one of the things I wanted to ask you is, I told you before I was in the solar industry, and I had to ask a customer for a huge outlay of cash, right? And that was the barrier to entry. That was where I had to be a real good salesman to have them purchase a long-term ROI or investment for their business. Now with this product, you came out with this thing called a pilot program. Can you explain what the pilot program and how it could benefit a customer?
Sure. So the pilot program is essentially where we prove the energy savings upfront to the customer, right? We have a process where we'll connect energy meters, we'll collect baseline data, then we'll install our product, we'll continue to record the energy consumption, and then we can download that and provide the client with a report that shows a very clear before and after picture, right? So it tells them exactly how much money they're saving, breaks it down into ROI and all of that. So, the pilot program allows them to sort of test it out first, right? Try it before they buy it. Now, not everyone qualifies. They've got to have at least 10 locations if it's a multi-unit type store, like a McDonald's franchise or something like that, or at least a minimum deal value of about $25,000. And the reason for that is because these pilot programs cost money, right? I've got to put a guy on the road. I'm covering his time, his hotels, his food, his gas, and then I've got to pay the engineers to do the data analysis. So, each pilot program costs me around $2,000, depending on where it is. So that's why we've sort of got to put some limits on there. But for those that qualify, it makes a lot of sense. And the report from the pilot program is what we use to then sell that client and close the deal.
Well, that's a great opportunity for these businesses. Now, if you knew somebody that had a business, what might be a good opening sentence that you would say to them to kind of open the door an opportunity to book a meeting?
I would say, look, if I could save you a couple $1,000s a year, is that worth 5 minutes of your time, right?
Right. And in the sales,
yes. And then I go to look. I've got a couple. Go ahead.
No, sorry. I had a little lag time. Go ahead. Finish, please.
Okay. And my second statement is, look, I've got a couple technologies. They're proven. They're effective. They're affordable, right, which is important. And they got, they're 12-month ROIs, so you get your money back very quickly.
Right. Now, what is the sales process that you would recommend for a representative once they booked a meeting? What would be the best sales process that you would recommend?
Look, success sells, right? So the thing that I use the most is, use the case studies, show the previous successes, show what we've saved other clients, and let these guys know that, we could do something very similar for them, right? Obviously, results vary. There's some variables involved in, like what they're paying per kilowatt hour, how many units of everything that they have, right? But, I always, my most successful marketing approaches have been to share the case studies and show what we've done for other customers. That works really well.
Right. And also, would you suggest that a person would, when they give the information to the customer, book a call with yourself or a upline or up team leader to help them walk them through that sales process?
Absolutely, right? I mean, always use all the resources at your disposal. So if you can use your upline, then absolutely do that. Mm-hmm. I'm available as well. I mean, 90% of my job is sales support, right? So I'm always on conference calls or meetings or, Zoom meetings and things of that nature. I can help with presentations. I can help answer questions, whether it's a small client or a larger, I mean, definitely if it's a larger client, because some of those guys get a little bit sophisticated. But, you definitely have resources at your disposal, and I recommend, use those. Don't try to go it alone.
Right. I try to manage my time the best I can. A week and a half or 2 weeks ago, I reached out to you and I said we had a contact from a gentleman that owned 15 McDonald's. I booked the session with you. Never talked to the gentleman. You and I and Al Smith got on the phone. You spoke to the customer. Then he agreed to review the information. And then we booked a follow-up call the other day, and then he agreed to the pilot program. So that's a sales process. And, utilizing that's what we did, and now that pilot is going to go active. That's how it is done, folks. I mean, don't try to do it yourself. Use a professional like Will, because he's been doing this for over 9 years. I mean, this is his baby, his product. He knows it through and through, and he has a testimonials behind him to really, push that sale. Okay. So, at this point in time, I wanted to talk a little bit about commissions, because I think a lot of people they just don't understand how this all works. Will has talked to you about 2 products, the Energy Squared. That's the one right there on the screen now. Can you see my screen? Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. That product right there costs the customer $600, and Will already said to you the customer is going to save between $600 and $800 per year, roughly. Every customer is different, but your commissionable amount per device is $75, and you're also going to receive 5 points into the compensation plan if you're a consultant. Now, I'm not going to go into the 5 points right now, but the $75 can be added up really quickly. If you have a convenience store that has a walk-in cooler, a walk-in freezer, and a beer chest, that's 3 devices they need. So 3 times 75 is 225. It's really simple math. If they have 2 HVAC units as well, add another 150 times 2. So an average convenience store could be between $450 and $525 per location. So Will has already discussed a pilot program, uses multiple locations, roughly about 10 locations each to get that pilot program. There are some other parameters that you can go through to get a pilot. They can have more devices per store and so forth, but you can ask those questions at another time. So if you have the contact on a pilot program, you do $500 roughly for a small restaurant times 10 locations. You're talking about a $5,000 upfront commission for yourself. Okay, how many of those do you need in a year to become successful? Okay, also building out a team. The company pays the enrolling representative, the person that introduced the customer, 80% of the commissionable amount. But I'm sorry, 60%. That's my bad. 60%, and 40% comes to the field. There is some commissions out there pending right now that can be upwards of $80,000 in their first couple months in the business. Okay, one person that has a pending amount of over $80,000. Now, there's also over $50,000 going to the field. Now, on the point side, when you're building a business, you can have massive points come into your business, which creates guaranteed baseline pay. So especially in sales, you want that guaranteed pay, baseline pay. So the more points we can generate as a team, it helps everybody have that baseline pay. I think that's really important. Now, Will already discussed what a pilot does. I wanted to give you a simple example of one of the pilots that was explained to me at the end of December. They had a restaurant that had 2 Energy Squared devices and 2 IntelliHVAC devices, okay? The cost of the 2 Energy Squared were $1,200, and the cost of the 2 IntelliHVAC was another $2,000. So that was an outlay of cash of $3,200 for the customer, all right? Of course, I'm going to go back to Will in a second about financing in just a moment, but what you get for that, the customer has a $3,200 outlay of cash, but their savings was about $5,600 annually. So they had a $2,400 savings after they purchased their devices in their first year. Now, the next year, they get to have the total savings of $5,000 plus, and the year after, and so on. These 2 devices specifically have a lifetime warranty, so it's really a smart investment for an owner, okay? Now, if you're interested in building a team, just like a mortgage broker has loan officers, you can become a Viv consultant and have many people selling these products for you, and you're going to get overrides. And we're not going to get into the commission right now, but they're giving massive overrides on this product going forward. Now, there's two ways to get started. You could be an affiliate. An affiliate means you can just go and sell. You're not going to build a team. You're not going to earn residuals on the products. You're not going to have that that baseline pay. All it is upfront commissions. We just told you what those commissions were per product, per location. Every location is different. If you have a hotel that has 100 devices, and we didn't go into those devices, you can have a huge commission in a month or two, right? But certainly there's other ways to earn. As a Viv consultant, you can earn the baseline pay, residuals on a team, build that long-term sustainable business that we're all been looking for. I wanted to go back to you real quick, Will, because some of the barriers to entry for a business would be, it sounds great, but I don't have that cash flow right now. How would you answer that question?
Yeah, so we've removed all of those barriers, right? Obviously, if you can get paid up front, then you want to do that. But if for some reason either they don't have the money, cash is tight, or if it's a larger client and their budget is spoken for, then Madison Energy has a lease program where essentially we can finance the deal for them. There's no credit checks, there's no liens, it's Madison Energy's money, right? We're not using any banks, there's no third parties involved. Because I'm the manufacturer, all it takes is for me to take the units off the shelf and go install them, right? Obviously those units have a cost to them and I have to pay for the installation. But we're able to do that. There's a 6, a 12, and a 24-month program. I guess Henry can send you there's sort of requirements, right? So I think it's something like if it's under 10,000, then they qualify for the 6-month program. If it's between 10 and I think 50, then it's the 12-month program, and over 50, then it's the 24-month. That's the guideline, not necessarily concrete. We can look at it. Again, at the end of the day, we're going to work together to do what we need to do to get a deal done. But when they finance it, what it allows the client to do is use the savings really to pay for the product. And so really at the end of the day, it costs them nothing.
Now, after you, during the pilot, what you do is you put your meters on for about a week, and then you're going to put your product on for a week, correct? And then You're going to come out with this detailed proposal for your business. Now, can you explain to everybody on this call, like, what this business proposal is about? And sorry, there's some people talking here. You can explain to them, like, how do you got this engineered study, and where does it come from?
So when we download the meters, we take that data and we send it to third-party engineers. I have one specifically for refrigeration and one specifically for HVAC. They do their analysis, they send it back to us, and then we put that all together, right? And as part of that, it's very transparent. So the screenshots from the meters are included, the graphs, as well as the actual raw data itself, right? So it's very transparent. They get all the information. And then, of course, at the end of it all, we summarize it and, turn it into a proposal, right? We show them the savings, and then we show them what the project would look like as well.
That's great. One of the things I've been doing is, as I've been speaking with representatives, it doesn't matter, what their education level is or what their experience level is. I've been asking them, like, who do you know that might that might have a contact in a franchise or a hotel? And I had one kid tell me yesterday that he knew somebody that his best friend owned, his best friend's family owned 53 McDonald's. And he has like no experience at all, zero. That was totally like light bulb, right? So this page here shows some of your testimonials, and so some of the people on this call, Mr. Geis, don't understand. This is not a untested product. You've had a lot of success, and can you share some of these testimonials with them?
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're talking to smaller clients, right? And when we can't do the pilot program, what I tell them is, look, we've been vetted by some of the biggest companies in the world, right? Subway, Starbucks, McDonald's, Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, Papa John's, Disney. So, we've gone through the motions with some really big companies out there. And if it works for them, it's going to work for you, right? Because, believe the bigger the company, the more scrutiny, the more they look at it, the more levels you have to get through. But, you can see on the screen here, these are some case studies that we've done, different projects. So, we've been at this almost 10 years now. It's proven, we've passed all the tests, and, there's no more questions.
Well, that's amazing stuff. Every time I go through this information, I feel like I just want to go out and talk to more businesses out there. Like you said, this is the season. I mean, I owned 4 restaurants before, and in the summertime, I used to think of, oh my God, I have to make sure I budget enough for my electric bill because I knew that compressor would be on. I always had to put more money into maintenance. These are things that go through business people's mind all the time. At the end of the day, I remember shutting off all my lights, and the last thing I did is I had to put my door heater switch off and my coolers, right? Because I had a gas station / restaurant, and the only thing I heard was silence, except the fans going in the cooler. So I knew that power was going on all night long. These business owners want to save, so we have to do them justice by just introducing them with these products. And as Mr. Guy said, just ask them, if I could show you how to save $3,000 or $5,000 a year, would it be worth 5 or 10 minutes of your time? That's the question. And everybody on this call knows somebody that owns a restaurant, hotel, gas station, warehouse. So somebody, or you know somebody that knows somebody. So reach out to people in your family, friends, business colleagues, and find out who the contact person is, and then bring through the sales process. So Will, I really appreciate your time. I know how busy you are, and I know that the team here thanks you for taking some time for us. We really appreciate it. I think you gave us some great insight and great information. And we look forward to putting in some deals across the nation and also growing a monster network. Our goal is to put in hundreds and hundreds of sales representatives for this product specifically, so we can scale it across nationwide. So everybody, thank you so much for being on the call tonight. Thank you, Will. And we appreciate your time, and you have a wonderful evening.
Sure. Hey, Henry, before we leave off, Robert Luck had a question about the single-page case studies. So I want to answer that just to make sure everyone has the benefit. So obviously we have the full case studies, which you guys kind of saw an example of in Henry's slide. But I also have condensed versions, which are basically one page. These are meant just to give the basic numbers, right? I'm kind of tweaking them a little bit as I go. Right now, the math, if you try to do the math, it doesn't work out because you don't know how many units of each thing that particular client had. But what those single-page case studies are meant to do is just to show, hey, here was the average savings for the Energy Squared and for the Intella HVAC, and then here's the total savings that the client should expect to see on an annual basis. So that's just a quick, one page, meant to grab some attention from these clients, and then it makes them ask questions, right? Which is good because then you can engage them in a conversation, and it goes from there. So just wanted to make sure I answered that question for Robert.
Great, and we'll put up some testimonial one-page stuff on our team site as well. For anybody that doesn't have any information or is looking for information, reach out to one of your team leaders, and we'll get you that information. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
All right, well, everybody have a great night. We stayed on 30 minutes, and again, next Thursday, we're going to have a webinar similar to this, and we hope you bring all your guests. Thank you.
Thanks, Henry.
You're welcome.
Have a good night.
You too. Thank you, everybody.